Welcome, Danvers. My name is Gayla Bartlett, and welcome to Lead On. This is where we get to sit and meet with some of our wonderful community leaders that are out there doing so much on our behalf and making such a wonderful difference in our community. I'm very excited today to have with me my friend and a wonderful person, Senator Joan Lovely. How are you? Welcome.
I'm good. Thank you, Gayla. Nice to be here.
First of all, thank you for taking the time from your busy schedule. I know you just came from someplace very special. If you'd like to tell us what event you just came from, actually not event, where you just were, and the great things that you just did today.
I just came from the State House. I ran the session today, and we passed a number of bills today, and a few bills that we put into third reading. So each bill goes through a process, but we passed a couple of bills, some local bills to some communities. And then we did an adjournment today, which we do in the Senate, and we adjourned in honor of a young man that I knew since he was a baby. He grew up on my street, Seamus O'Leary, who passed away at the age of 29 last year to cardiomyopathy. So a big blow to his family. He was a wonderful young man. He was a street artist. He loved to travel. He was, as a matter of fact, when he passed away, he was mountain biking. So he was doing something he absolutely loved, and so we honored him today.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's great that the Senate can do so many things like that. A lot of time I don't think people know all the great things that you do, and you discuss the bills, and you get right down to the heart of the matter there, but you're also doing so many great things, like you said at the end, to adjourn,
right,
which are beautiful. So you're bringing back that community focus.
Exactly. We do a lot of that in the Senate. I also, before I left, I have some adjournments with me. I'm sorry, not adjournments, some citations with me that there are a number of, again, Salem firefighters who are retiring.
Wow.
And so we'll honor them in a few days with citations and thank them for their service to Salem, to the Salem Fire Department. We've done this for all the communities, including Danvers.
Great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So you're in your 5th term.
Yes.
Which is huge.
It is. It feels like 10 minutes. It's been 10 years,
really?
and it feels like 10 minutes, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to just let everybody know the towns and cities that you represent.
Sure. So I represent Beverly, Danvers, Peabody, Salem, and Topsfield. In the next session, Topsfield will leave the district because of redistricting.
Okay.
Right, so Topsfield will go back to Senator Tarr, who is the minority leader.
Okay.
And Senator Tarr represented Topsfield 20 years ago, but every 10 years when we do a census, we see how the population has changed and shifted, and then we have to shift the districts accordingly. So Topsfield goes back to Senator Tarr's district.
Now, do you pick up another?
I don't.
You
no,
don't?
The district does not.
Okay, the district does not,
right.
Yes.
It's Beverly, Danvers, Peabody, and Salem going forward.
So it'll be smaller.
It'll be smaller, but the same population.
Right.
So area-wise smaller. Topsfield's about 5,000-6,000 residents. So, but I will still, or the district will still be about 165,000 residents.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah.
So just looking over some of the literature, I was amazed to read. I know how much you've done because I've seen it and I've heard it, and you're at all the community events, and everywhere we go in Danvers, you're there, and you're just obviously supporting the town, but some of the things that we hit upon here, like keep pregnant workers from being fired from their jobs due to pregnancy, prevent sexual abuse of children and youth by adults in positions of authority or trust, which is huge because you hear so much about that every day, and the heartache and the trauma that the families go through.
And it is trauma. Mm-hmm. Just quickly about the pregnant workers. So we passed this bill back in 2015, and we had workers coming to us who were pregnant, and they were being let go from their jobs because of their pregnancy. So we said, no, that can't happen. And we heard a particular story about a woman of color who worked in a commercial laundry, and she was pushing those giant bins of laundry and loading them in and out of machines. And she went to her superior and said, can I get an accommodation? And she started to show and get more,
Yeah.
And not only did the superior say no, the superior gave her more work to do, more responsibilities. She lost that pregnancy.
Oh, no.
She did.
That's awful.
It's terrible. So we want to make sure that any pregnant worker is protected in the workforce. And what the bill does, and the law does, is it creates an accommodation worked out between the employer and the employee. Are you a cashier? Maybe you need a stool to sit on.
Yep.
Maybe you need some extra restroom breaks. Are you nursing? You can take a nursing break. Be able to pump breast milk for your baby. So it's a really great law.
And that got passed in 2015?
It did, and
Okay.
we were one of the first in the nation to do it.
That's huge.
It is.
That's great. And the work you've done to prevent the sexual abuse of children.
Right.
I know you're on the forefront, and I know being out in the community, it's still, people don't want to talk about it, but it happens, and the trauma that happens not only to the child, but to the family.
Right.
And that piece is huge. So having advocacy is so important.
It really is, because the latest statistics are 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 13 boys are sexually abused today. 25% of girls and 15% of boys are sexually abused today. And it can be a lifelong trauma. And we read all too often that we're seeing it happening in schools, under coaches. I don't want to single out educators and coaches. That's what we're seeing. But it happens all too often. So I filed a number of bills that would actually assist schools on how they screen applicants who are coming in, to teach or to coach or youth serving organization, to tell you that the YMCA's and the Boys and Girls Clubs already put this training into place, because looking at child sexual abuse, how it manifests, it's different than abuse and neglect. So if someone's trained to know what to look for, they'll be able to save a child. It's so important.
It is, and it's great that you're in the forefront of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So ensure safe drinking water in our schools?
So we have done a study Commonwealth-wide to see which schools buildings still have lead service that comes in.
I'm sure they do still.
They do.
Yeah.
So if buildings were built before 1978, when we removed lead from paint, and make sure that then there was likely a lead service coming into the school. So we are looking. We actually were able to receive some funding to be able to help schools remediate. And
wow.
Town of Brockton is a really good standout example. They looked at all their schools, a big school system in Brockton, and they were able to remediate their lead and water problem. And what did they do? They actually removed the water fountains, the old water fountains.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah, and replaced them with new water fountains that receive clean water.
Great.
Not anything that's related to a lead pipe. So Brockton was able to do it for about $300,000, which was not a big. It's a lot of money,
right?
But it wasn't break the bank money.
Right.
So we're looking at. So we've identified all the school buildings and where they need to be done, and that's the law to make it happen.
It's huge. So before we go over the rest of these, because some of them are just wow, we will hit on this one though. I think it's fascinating. Create a Women's Right History Trail, and I know in Danvers we just had that done,
That's
and
right.
you were there.
Yes. So Ann Page, I actually just visited the Historic Society just a couple of weeks
Great.
ago. Had a nice tour. It was really wonderful, and we just signed this bill into law last week out at Mechanics Hall in Worcester with the governor, lieutenant governor. It was a beautiful ceremony. So I was a Senate sponsor of the bill, and my House counterpart, Representative Hannah Kane, the House counterpart. And so this will create a women's history trail across the Commonwealth. The Remond family, for example, in Salem, these were abolitionists who worked at Hamilton Hall. They were the cooks and servers in Hamilton Hall, and they were huge in the women's rights movement at that time. And so there were so many notable women that would be wonderful to be able to see. And it'll start right in the State House, and then there'll be a trail all around the Commonwealth for people to be able to see who their notables were, maybe in their hometown, and for other people to be able to visit.
That's huge.
Yeah, special.
That's so special.
Yeah.
I think we need to take a moment though, so voters, because the big election is coming up,
Yes.
and we want people to get out and vote. But for them to know more about you personally, because your website's great. We were talking about that earlier, about how wonderful your website is.
Thank you.
And I laughed because it talks about the ducks, because you have ducks. And when you go on a candidate or anybody's personal information and you say a little bit about me and you see ducks, you're like, oh, okay. The pictures of the ducks, by the way, are adorable. So if you'd like to list your, I call it the entourage.
The entourage, yes. So I raise call ducks. Call ducks are the bantam of the duck world. They're small, so they're easy to maintain. They're friendly. They're really friendly to children. I usually incubate them. I raise them from egg, have them imprint to me, and then raise them right. I show them at the Topsfield Fair just for fun because they are imprinted to people. They're friendly. You can pat them, and yeah. So it's just a hobby. So I have five drakes right now, five boys, and they all have names. And then we have 2 hens. So I do get hen eggs every day. 2 fresh organic hen eggs. Thank you to the girls. And we have 4 Labrador retrievers. So we're an animal lover family. At least I am, and my husband puts up with it. Yeah.
And then the beautiful grandbaby. She is so cute.
Yeah. Granddaughter she'll be 2 in October.
See, to me, she's still a baby. She's so cute.
We're just having so much fun. She's
so
just
fun.
Such joy to our lives. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
Beautiful. So, and I also, I don't think people realize being a senator is not just a 9-to-5 job, because you are on 24/7. So you may be at the, doing your sessions, then you're out at appearances, you're out doing your proclamations and all that, but you're also at events. I think you're at least, I could be wrong, some days 2 to 3 events that you need to be at to show your support in your different communities. So you're there at night, you're there at day. So the fact that you can even raise a duck, I find amazing because I don't know when you have any time. Unless you're doing this in your sleep because there's no time.
I get my sleep. I'm very intentional about getting sleep. For me, I like to be very intentional about being available. So how do I be available? I'm in the district. So I can see people, talk to people, see what's on people's minds. During COVID, we helped thousands of people get through unemployment claims. It was very hard. The system was all jammed up, and we were able to get people because, as you can imagine, you're out of work, and you don't know when your next paycheck is coming, and you need that unemployment. So I have to give a big shout out to my staff. I've got a great team that works for me, and we are a team. And without them, we wouldn't be able to do as much as we do. So they're really wonderful. But I'm in the district. So, I was in session this morning. I'm here with you now. This afternoon, I will be going to a neighborhood in Beverly to tour an area which is prone to flooding to see how we're able to, at the state level, be able to bring some type of relief to these people who are getting their basements are getting flooded out. After that, there is another event in Beverly for a woman who has ALS, and they're having a fundraiser for her. And then tonight, I will end my evening with a Zoom meeting at 7 o'clock, 7 to about 8:30. And Zoom has been wonderful, I have to tell you. This is better, but Zoom has been terrific. It really has allowed us to expand our access to our constituents and their access to us. So I'm really grateful for that platform. We'll continue to do that.
That's great. Yeah, so I noticed you have office hours in every city. So you're at the senior centers, it's on your website, so I think everybody needs to know this. If you go to the Joan Lovely website, everything is there. So your office hours where you are. And also that Zoom part is great because it's 4 to 5. So I know I work. I can't get to a senior center midday or a library or wherever you may be, but and as long as it says you have to make your reservation, so they know you're coming.
Although they're walk-ins, we do allow, we welcome walk-ins as well.
That's great.
And we do have walk-ins. So, but if people want to meet with us for particular issues, sometimes those issues are sensitive, and we want to be able to give them that privacy. But we do every Monday. We're in a couple of different senior centers, and then Monday afternoons we go virtual for anybody who's working and not able to come in person. So we want to make sure again that we're accessible.
You're very accessible, and I think that's one of the biggest things nowadays is being able to talk to your representation, to your representatives that are representing you, because before it was like untouchable, and now it's like I think we know where you are every single move. We know where you're going to be and what your schedule is, which is great. So you've done your 5 terms. What do you see yourself doing in the next term, the next phase? I mean, you're passionate about so many things. We could sit here for hours and talk about all the different bills you've passed and all the people you've helped and all the organizations and all the passion you bring. But what are we looking to do next? Because you have other things you've started that I know you want to see come to fruition. So what are the next things?
Well, I'll tell you, I've had the really incredible good fortune this session to be the Senate chair of the Women's Caucus. We have 63 members strong. I'll give you a little statistic. Over the course of the legislature, 373 years, we have elected 20,000 men to the office and 221 women.
Did you say 20,000 to 221?
20,000 to 221.
Wow.
So we have some work to do there.
Yeah.
So I want to continue after I give up the presidency to be able to encourage women, especially young women, into public service. Start locally, see what you might like to learn about in your own community. I did it when I was a young mom. We built a playground. The playground in our neighborhood was that one hot metal slide and the two rubber swings that my husband played on when he was a boy.
Yeah.
And over the course of a year, we volunteered a bunch of neighborhood parents, and we worked with the city. And over the course of a weekend, 100 volunteers, we built this beautiful playground. And so that's how I got my hook into public service. And I would encourage anybody who wants to, get into office, start locally. Do something that you have some passion for, or you just want to learn about. So I will continue to really work towards that and expound on that as well. I also have the good fortune to be the chair of the Postpartum Depression Commission.
Right.
I got a call from a young mom when I first got into office who had suffered from postpartum depression. She had two questions. Do you know what postpartum depression is, and are you aware that there's a commission at the State House? Well, yes, I knew about PPD. I did not know there was a commission. I found myself to be appointed within just a few months after that phone call, and learned about it. Now I chair that commission. So again, working on issues particular to women, keeping women again employed in the workforce. Childcare. Childcare is enormous, to make sure that we have affordable childcare for everyone, to be able to make sure that we keep women in the workforce, because if we step out of the workforce, we lose that earning power.
Right.
We want to make sure that we can continue to have that earning power and have a good retirement when those days show up. So particular to that, again, helping kids, I just want to make sure that we have the best school systems. Danvers has a really great school system. How can we continue to support and enhance the Danvers school system? And, just again, being accessible to people. The child sexual abuse prevention, I will continue to work on that. Those are some, these are really good bills. They've been totally vetted. Everyone's in agreement. People don't want to talk about child sexual abuse. So I'm going to continue to pound the pavement on that one to make sure we get there.
And the same with you establish a model school policy on suicide prevention. I think that's another topic. People aren't comfortable with it. They don't want to talk about it.
Right.
But as you know, COVID totally upped the numbers because the children were home. They had time to think. There was no help for them.
Right.
So the suicide prevention is huge. I mean, I know you know the statistics, but it's heartbreaking.
It is, and again, another story I want to share is that when I was, new in the Senate about a term, I had this mom come in to see me, and you could tell something was wrong, and she had lost her daughter, who was graduating from college with a master's in social work, and she took her life just weeks before that graduation. So this mom and her family put together a project, the Nan Project. Nan was the name of her daughter. And now they are in hundreds of high schools across the Commonwealth. What they do is peer mentoring. And so they teach peer-to-peer. What are you looking for in terms of, is your friend sad? Is it more than sadness? What is going on? Talk to somebody. So the peers can recognize from each other, support each other, and then report up and out if there is something, if the person is suicidal. It is having great success. The Department of Higher Education is now looking at the model to be able to put it into the college campuses. So
huge.
This is the work we need to do, because you're right, COVID has had an enormous effect, especially on our little students too, and our little ones. Everyone's been affected by this, so we want to put supports in place.
It's great. It's huge. And prevent bill. This one I thought was great as well. Well, they're all great. Don't get me wrong, they're all great. But prevent bullying of elderly, disabled residents and veterans in public housing.
Right.
So my mom was in senior housing, so I saw it happen. I mean, you see it happen. And it's amazing to me, even if you pop into different places with elderly and the veterans, you see it, you hear it.
Right. Right, exactly. So again, a lot of these bills that that we write and pass are because of constituents who contact us and say, this happened to me. So again, an older gentleman from Peabody who contacted me, and he saw bullying in his public housing. And so we worked closely with him. We actually did a bullying commission, and the commission made recommendations, and now we are enacting those recommendations. So that if someone is feeling bullied and they have no place to turn, sometimes management isn't listening to it. We want to be able to teach management what to be looking for, and then have an ombudsman in the Attorney General's office. So someone is a phone call away to be able to screen out on what that looks like, because people feel if they speak up, they'll be retaliated against. Will they face eviction? Will they face isolation? They're left out of events. So it can be tenant to tenant. It can be management with tenants as well. There's all different types, and it's prevalent. It's extremely prevalent. So we want to make sure we're putting the right tools in place to be able to address it.
It's beautiful. And I know you were there, I'm pretty sure, with everyone else when Roe versus Wade.
Yep.
If you'd like.
Yes.
Yeah, if we could talk about that for a moment, because that is horrifying.
Yeah.
You're going to take us back now because this was voted upon.
50 years.
Horrifying.
Yep, turn the clock back 50 years. So 2 years ago in the legislature, we were starting to look to see what was going to happen with the Supreme Court and with Roe. So I have this wonderful colleague, Senator Chandler. She's Senate President Emerita. She's 84 years old, and she's retiring this year after 30 years in the legislature.
Wow.
She led on this issue. Just remarkable. And so we actually codified Roe into our law 2 years ago, thinking that what if the Supreme Court overturns Roe, which happened. So we already have it in place. So we have reproductive and abortion care available to our residents. This session, just back in June and July, we actually ratified or re-ratified Roe to be able to ensure that others coming from states where abortion now is denied abortion care can come to this state to receive their abortion care. Now, I'm going to use Texas as an example. Texas passed a law that any of their residents going to another state, they could bring criminal charges against them. Not the state, but anybody. The Uber driver who's driving the person to the airport to get on a plane to come to another state could say, I know why she's leaving, go arrest her. And so we said here in Massachusetts, no. If someone's coming here for that care, they're going to have the protections of our laws. They can't be extradited. And we also are protecting our providers as well, because our providers would be exposed to criminal sanctions as well out of the state of Texas. We said, no, that's not going to happen. So we have ratified Roe and, again, reproductive rights and abortion care in this state for those who choose to avail themselves.
That's huge.
It's huge.
And the fact that you guys were on the forefront of it and knew it was coming or could come.
Right.
It just talks about the cohesiveness of your team and how well that you all work together.
Yes.
Which I think is great, because you have both parties there, correct?
Both parties.
Working together.
Bipartisan effort, be able to get this done, and with a governor who signed it.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
So Election Day is September?
Election Day is September 6th.
All right.
Is the primary right around the corner.
So we're ready. We want people to go out and vote.
We do, and actually people are early voting now. So people should have received a ballot application in the mail, automatically mailed by the Secretary of the Commonwealth, and whether you can then fill that out, send it back to your city or town clerk, and they will mail you your ballot.
Right, and I know some people like to vote in person. I know I do.
I do too.
I get excited every time. On my 18th birthday, I went down to City Hall, and I registered to vote. That poor woman was horrified of me. I said, I'm 18, and she went, yep. I said, I need to register to vote. She went, okay, great. It was, because I'm like the 19th Amendment. I have to vote. It's a privilege. It's an honor. Women died and fought for this. I'm going to vote. Yep. So I have to be in person. I have to go in, fill in my little thing, see what number I am. To me, it's so exciting.
I feel the same way.
I have to be there in person.
I like it in person as well. And I remember when I turned 18, and I did the same thing. I registered to vote right away. And I exercised that right to vote, and I have not missed an election.
Neither have I. I'm like, I refuse.
Yep,
absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to the election And I want to thank you so much for all this wonderful work you've done and all the wonderful nonprofits you've helped in our communities.
Thank you.
And being such a wonderful advocate and ally for everyone.
It's an honor. It's such an honor and a privilege to do this job, and I would love to be able to continue to do it. So that's up to the voters, but it's an honor, absolutely honor and privilege. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you, Danvers, for watching today. And don't forget to vote. And I will see you next time when we meet with some more wonderful community leaders on Lead On. Take care, everybody.